It's a tradition for actors to walk off movie sets with keepsakes. When you've been acting for as long as Mark Hamill has, you'll totally have an impressive collection of memorabilia from all your movies. Hamill has given us looks at the items he saved, and he has some particularly interesting Star Wars stuff. In this video, we're gonna look at some items that he recently revealed from his keepsake collection. This all started with a big auction sale. Last month, a Red Leader X-Wing miniature went up for auction. This was an authentic mini created by Industrial Light and Magic for use in shooting, which is why it ended up selling for a cool $2.4 million. That prompted Mark, the legendary Luke Skywalker, to joke that he should have kept his. It probably wasn't a surprise to fans that Hamill would have a lot of Star Wars trinkets that he's held onto over the years, but it did prompt to start asking him questions. At the time, he revealed that he still had Luke's boots from Episode 4, A New Hope. Since they were on the subject of auctions, Hamill affirmed that he didn't know their worth because he'd never sell them. Lately though, Hamill has been showing off more of his collection. The first in this series of tweets showed that Hamill still had the Stormtrooper helmet that was part of Luke's disguise to save Leia. Star Wars Stormtroopers have an iconic design that's instantly recognizable to those who've watched Star Wars and those who haven't. We'd actually assume every actor who's worked on Star Wars has one of these at home. Next, he showed off some items from the set of Return of the Jedi, a pair of hands and a pair of feet from the body of C-3PO. These he showed in a really cute pic of his son Nathaniel wearing both the hands and the feet. We think it's safe to say that Nate is the droid that Mark is looking for. Then he showed a rubber frog. These frogs were the snacks eaten by Jabba the Hutt, although they don't look as gross out of context as they do in the movie. Lastly, the hat of an Imperial Death Star employee. Is there more that he didn't show? He stopped this series of tweets by saying that this was the end, or was it? We don't doubt that Mark has a truckload of Star Wars memorabilia, and we look forward to seeing more from him. What's interesting is that when asked if he had a lightsaber, he didn't say yes or no. Kinda hard to imagine that a Jedi like Mark Hamill wouldn't have held onto his lightsaber. But then again, the lightsabers from these movies can often be found at Star Wars exhibits. That might mean that Lucasfilm or Disney retains the lightsabers among their own collection of Star Wars trinkets. We're also curious as to whether or not Hamill has anything from his time shooting The Last Jedi. A jar of green milk, perhaps? We wouldn't blame him for hesitating from showing off those things though, since The Last Jedi might be the most controversial and divisive movie he ever did. If you ask us, we also think it's pretty cool that Hamill didn't auction this stuff over the years. We're sympathetic to actors who find themselves at a point where they do have to sell these treasured memories, especially since they can be worth so much. But being in the original trilogy is something people will be talking about forever. Have other Star Wars actors kept things from the movies? Turning to the dark side of the Force, Adam Driver has held on to a fair few items from his work as Kylo Ren, villain of the Star Wars sequel trilogy. While he hasn't done a dive through his collection, he did reveal that he had two of the Kylo Ren helmets and his lightsaber. Ren's lightsaber had a unique look compared to the sabers used elsewhere throughout the Star Wars universe, so we can imagine that Adam was driven to keep one for himself. Alas, the thing that made his lightsaber unique probably doesn't work in real life. Driver has more fun with his helmets, which he wears while driving in his normal life. It's probably not very unusual to see someone driving around in a Kylo Ren helmet, and you'd have to go right up to Driver to figure out that these helmets are legit movie props. One thing's for sure, you don't want to have any road rage with a guy in a Sith Lord helmet. Other things that Driver has kept from his shoots include knickknacks from The Dead Don't Die and a net. He also has, amazingly, a suit of armor from The Last Duel. The item he's stolen that probably has the most value to normal people is the pair of Gucci shoes that he took from the set of House of Gucci. We never considered how great an opportunity that movie would have been to steal some Gucci pieces. But Driver is just disappointed he didn't also get to keep a belt. Which other actors' movie hauls would you like to see? Whether it's Star Wars or a different movie, share your opinions in the comment section down below. Next, in other news, we have our first casting news from The Acolyte. One of the most exciting upcoming projects in the Star Wars universe is The Acolyte. This is the first of the shows that heads back to the very interesting era of the High Republic, which was 200 years before the prequel trilogy. There were a few announcements around that series during the San Diego Comic-Con, and one of the announcements has to do with the cast. Amanda Stenberg, who famously acted in The Hate U Give, cryptically revealed on her Instagram that she would be joining the cast of the show. What role she'll be playing is currently a mystery, but her Darth Maul jersey suggests that she'll be on the wrong side of the Force. The Acolyte, as we said, takes place well before the events of the Skywalker saga. In the days of the High Republic, the Jedi Order was thriving and they were a powerful force in the Empire. That'll obviously start to change as the dark side of the Force and the Sith start to emerge over the course of the show. We don't know much about the plot or the characters or the release date for the Acolyte, but you can be sure that you'll hear it here first when that info comes out. Up next, we get some teasers about the upcoming Ahsoka series. Ahsoka Tano may have been introduced to the Star Wars universe through animated shows, but she's just as beloved a part of the universe as Obi-Wan or Anakin or Luke. That's just one reason why we're crazy excited for the upcoming Ahsoka series, and we're sure that you are too. There's been a lot of buzz around Ahsoka, including the fact that Natasha Liu Bordizzo will be portraying another famous Star Wars character, Sabine Wren. She was a big part of Star Wars Rebels, and she'll be appearing beside Rosario Dawson's Ahsoka on the show. Bordizzo gave us some vague ideas of what we can expect from the show. She describes Sabine as fearless, brave, and graceful, while acknowledging that she has her flaws and she'll make mistakes throughout the show. Making mistakes is risky at the best of times, but to do so during a galactic war really raises the stakes. If you're just a fan of the live-action Star Wars content, let us quickly fill you in on who these characters are. Star Wars Clone Wars took place during the prequel trilogy, and it introduced us to Ahsoka Tano, the Padawan of Anakin Skywalker. Sabine, meanwhile, was introduced in Star Wars Rebels. She was an early leader of the Rebels, who was known for her artistic side. She was the creator of the Rebellion's logo. Finally, what does John Boyega think of Obi-Wan Kenobi? John Boyega is one of the luckiest Star Wars fans on Earth, seeing as he got to play a major character in the Star Wars sequel trilogy. Even though that trilogy is over, and it looks like we won't be seeing Finn again anytime soon, Boyega is still a fan of Star Wars. Fans were naturally curious as to what Boyega thought of the Disney Plus projects that have been rolling out lately, and in an interview with The Wrap, we got to learn his opinion on the Obi-Wan show. It turns out that he was keeping with it on a weekly basis, even though he has a busy acting schedule. He found Obi-Wan to be a fun show, and he enjoyed seeing Ewan McGregor back in his role from the prequels. But the thing he was most excited about was seeing Hayden Christensen's Anakin Skywalker, aka Darth Vader, being back on screen. He referred to Anakin as his guy, and he was happy to see him have more nuance and story. Which other Star Wars projects do you want to hear about from Boyega? That's it for today's video. What did you think of this piece of memorabilia? I think you'll agree with us that it would be amazing to have an authentic Stormtrooper helmet. It is, after all, one of the most iconic images in all of movies. What other fantasy items from movies you'd like to get your hands on? Drop your answers in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.